Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are really tearing into the strategic blueprint of one of the giants, driving this whole shift toward intelligent devices. We've got their Q3 2025 reports,
Yep.
basically fresh off the wire, and their long-term vision documents, too. Yeah, they paint a fascinating picture.
They really do. It's not just about recovery from a downturn, although that's part of it. It's more about these huge, aggressive bets they're placing on what they call the intelligent edge.
Yeah, the intelligent edge.
For anyone tracking the semiconductor industry, this stuff is gold. It gives you a really clear view on how this move towards specialized, connected, safe edge devices is actually turning into revenue. You see where the value is shifting.
Okay, so our mission today, let's be clear, is to cut through the noise, the jargon, the raw numbers. We want to zero in on those key financial signs that signal recovery.
Right.
And really understand why automotive and industrial markets are so central to their strategy. And maybe most importantly, unpack these pretty bold acquisitions they just snapped up.
Yeah, those acquisitions are key.
Seems like they're trying to lock down their advantage for the next decade, right?
Absolutely. And we can jump right into that recovery signal you mentioned. The headline, Q3 revenue, $3.17 billion. Pretty strong.
Okay.
And it actually beat the midpoint of their own guidance. Management sounded optimistic, talking about broad-based sequential improvement.
Across all regions and markets.
Yeah, exactly. And crucially, they didn't just point to their own stuff, their specific growth drivers, but also mentioned, and this is important, signs of a cyclical recovery taking hold more broadly.
Okay, signs of recovery. Let's unpack that with the actual numbers, because context is everything here. Comparing Q3 25 to Q2 25, revenue was up, what, 8%?
Solid 8% sequential jump. Yeah, that's a good sign of stabilization, definitely.
But, and this is the key context, right? If you look year over year, Q3 25 versus Q3 24, revenue is still down slightly, about 2%.
That's right. So stabilization, yes. The full turnaround from the slump. Maybe not quite there yet, but heading in the right direction.
And you mentioned margins, which often tell a better story about core health.
Yeah, the non-GAAP figures especially, they strip out the one-offs. So non-GAAP gross margin, it climbed to 57.0%. That's up from 56.5% in Q2.
Okay, half a point improvement.
But the real eye-opener for me was the non-GAAP operating margin. That jumped pretty significantly, from 32.0% in Q2 up to 33.8% in Q3.
Wow, okay, that's almost 2 full percentage points in one quarter.
Exactly. As volume comes back, that kind of efficiency, that expansion, it really speaks volumes about their cost control and maybe some pricing power too.
And that kind of margin performance feeds right into cash flow, doesn't it?
Directly. Their non-GAAP free cash flow, the cash left after operations and capital spending was strong, $509 million in Q3.
$509 million. And they're pretty serious about returning cash to shareholders, I gather.
Oh, very serious. They reported returning $310 million just in Q3. That's, nearly 61% of that free cash flow you just mentioned?
How did that break down? Dividends, buybacks?
Mostly dividends. $256 million in dividends, and then about $54 million used for share buybacks.
Okay, hang on, though. You mentioned their ambitious goals, doubling EPS, these big strategic acquisitions we'll get to, R&D investment.
Right.
How does that square with a long-term policy of returning 100% of excess free cash flow? Doesn't that sound like it could starve the very investments they need to make?
That's a really sharp question. It all hangs on that word excess, right?
Okay.
Their confidence, I think, comes from the trajectory they see in automotive and industrial. High growth, high margin. They project generating so much FCF in the future.
Ah, so they think they can do both.
That seems to be the bet. Fund the strategic stuff and return almost everything else. It's basically a statement of confidence that future growth will more than pay for itself without needing to hoard cash.
Got it. And this recovery, this momentum, it wasn't just one region carrying the load.
Not at all. It was really global. Sequential revenue increases everywhere. China led the pack, up 13.0%.
13%, wow.
America's strong too, up 11.2%. Asia Pacific up 7.7%. Even EMEA, which can be slower, eked out a 0.4% gain.
So that broad lift, it really suggests the inventory glut, the destocking phase, is largely behind us.
It strongly suggests that, yeah, seems like the tide is lifting all boats again, regionally speaking.
Okay, let's pivot then. Section 2. Where is this future cash flow, this growth, actually supposed to come from? The segment deep dive, the intelligent edge strategy.
Right. The Q3 revenue mix tells the story pretty clearly. Automotive is just dominant, 58% of total revenue.
50%, okay.
Industrial and IoT is the clear number 2 at 18%.
So combined, that's like 3/4 of the business right there.
Pretty much. And automotive is, well, it's the whole thesis right now. Q3 auto revenue was $1.837 billion. That's up 6.2% sequentially.
Decent growth.
But the real focus, you have to look at what drives future content growth. It's not just selling more basic chips. We're talking software-defined vehicles, SDVs.
Right, SDVs.
Electrification, CACs, EVs, and advanced driver assistance, ADAS, specifically levels L1 through L3.
Okay, just quickly for listeners, L1 to L3 ADS, that's things like adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, up to where the car can handle specific tasks, but you still need to watch it. Kind of the building blocks for more autonomy.
Exactly. It's putting the intelligence into those early to mid stages of assisted driving.
And the content growth there must be significant.
That's why their forecasts are so bullish. They're projecting 8-12% compound annual growth, CAGR, for the whole automotive segment through 2027.
8 to 12% CAGR is strong for a big segment.
It is. But then they highlight what they call accelerated growth drivers. These are their specialized solutions, things like the S32 SDV platform chips, specific electrification components, high-res radar.
Okay.
For those, they expect growth of 15-25% CAGR.
Well, 15 to 25%, that's huge.
Right.
What makes those specific areas like the S32 platform so much faster growing?
Because it's a completely different value proposition, isn't it? An SDV platform isn't just about the silicon. It lets the car act more like a data center on wheels.
Meaning updates, new features.
Exactly. Over-the-air updates, new PED services, handling really complex safety-critical processing. They're not just selling a component for a few bucks anymore. They're selling the integrated system, the central nervous system for the vehicle.
Ah, so it's the integration and the software enablement that commands a premium.
That's the idea. Higher value, higher integration, hopefully much higher, stickier gross margins.
Okay, makes sense. Let's shift to the other key pillar, industrial and IoT. That brought in $579 million in Q3.
Yep, healthy 6.0% sequential growth there. And interestingly, it was actually up 3% year over year, shows a bit more resilience maybe.
So what's the focus within IoT? It's pretty broad.
It is, but they're targeting specific high-value niches, things like factory automation, smart home and building controls, advanced healthcare devices, and power and energy management systems. It's a fragmented market.
And their growth target here.
Similar to auto, 8-12% revenue CAGR forecasted through 2027. But what's interesting is they compare that to their estimate of the overall market growth, the SAM CAGR, which they peg at 7%.
So they're explicitly aiming to gain share.
Right, by focusing on the more complex, higher-value applications within that broad industrial space, not just riding the overall market wave.
Now, amidst all this strategic, long-term positioning, we have to talk about mobile.
Ah, yes, the mobile surprise.
It really jumped out. A massive 30% sequential increase in Q3. 30%, up to $430 million.
Yeah, that Q over Q spike is, well, it's a really strong indicator for the broader electronics market, I think.
What drove it?
They attributed it mainly to a surge in demand for their advanced analog products. If you're looking for proof that, consumer electronics demand has bottomed out and is swinging back up,
The 30% jump is pretty good evidence.
it's pretty telling. It suggests customers who are running super lean on inventory are now scrambling to restock and maybe even build for new models.
Yeah.
It's a cyclical indicator.
Okay, and just quickly, the fourth segment, communication infrastructure and other.
That one's stabilizing, it seems, up 2% sequentially to $327 million. But you absolutely have to note the long-term trend there.
The year-over-year decline.
Yeah, a really sharp drop, down 27.5% compared to Q3 last year. It clearly shows where the focus isn't, right? Capital is being steered away from this segment.
Right. Classic portfolio management.
Yeah.
Stabilize the legacy stuff while you pour resources into the future growth engines.
Textbook example.
Which brings us neatly to Section 3. How are they actually enhancing that portfolio to capture this future growth? It's not just about making chips anymore.
No, it's really about the system. They get that. It's less about just the transistor count now and more about how you integrate complex functions reliably and safely.
So their strategy is?
They talk about offering a complete portfolio for intelligent systems at the edge, trying to provide all the key pieces. Sense, think, connect, and act.
Sense, think, connect, act. Okay.
Basically, gathering data, processing it, communicating it, and then making something happen in the real world. And crucially, Wrapping all of that in top-tier security and functional safety, that's non-negotiable, especially in auto and industrial.
And this system-level thinking, it perfectly explains that burst of M&A activity we saw recently, doesn't it?
Absolutely. 3 very targeted acquisitions right around the end of the quarter or shortly after. Each one slots perfectly into that automotive and industrial strategy.
Let's break them down. There was TT Tech Auto, acquired earlier in Q2, actually. Big price tag, around $766 million. What did that bring?
Think of TT Tech Auto as providing the crucial software backbone for the software-defined vehicle. They specialize in safety-critical systems and middleware. Middleware is like the translation layer that lets complex hardware and software components talk to each other reliably and, crucially, safely.
Okay, so TT Tech is the safety software layer. Then came Aviva Links for $243 million. What's their role?
Aviva is about the high-speed data plumbing. They boost the company's offering in Automotive SIRDS Alliance, or ASA, compliant connectivity.
SIRDS, that's for moving data quickly.
Exactly. High bandwidth data, like from cameras, radar, LiDAR sensors. SIRDS lets you shoot that data across simple, cheap copper wires within the car, really fast, without using too much power. As cars get loaded with more sensors, moving all that data efficiently is critical. Aviva strengthens their position there.
Got it. Software safety from TT Tech, data pipes from Aviva. And the third one, Kinara, for $307 million. This sounds like the AI brain.
That's a good way to put it. Kinara brings high performance, but importantly, energy-efficient, programmable neural processing units, NPUs.
NPUs, so specialized AI chips.
Right. Silicon specifically designed to run AI tasks like inference right there on the device, at the edge, super efficiently. Whether it's crunching sensor data for driving decisions or running, say, predictive maintenance AI on a factory machine, Kinara provides that dedicated AI horsepower.
So looking at the three together, safety software, TT Tech,
Right.
high-speed networking, Aviva, and dedicated AI processing, Kinara. It's a really coordinated push.
Highly coordinated, all feeding directly into enabling more complex, more valuable systems for cars and industrial applications.
And underpinning all this innovation is their manufacturing strategy. How do they manage supply chain risk and control?
They use what they call a hybrid manufacturing model. They keep the really complex, critical stuff in-house, the front-end wafer fabrication. About 86% of that is internal.
Okay, high control there.
But for the back-end assembly, testing, packaging, which is generally less technologically differentiated, they rely more on external partners. About 62% external sourcing there.
So it gives them control over the core IP and technology, but flexibility and maybe some geographical diversification on the back end.
Exactly. Control where it matters most for innovation, flexibility where it helps with scale and resilience.
Okay, let's zoom out now. Section 4. The long-term view, the big picture goals out to 2030 and beyond. And these targets are, well, they're bold.
They are definitely not incremental targets. They're aiming high. The headline goal is basically doubling non-GAAP EPS by 2030 plus or
Doubling EPS. How do they plan to get there?
through a combination of high single-digit organic revenue growth, so growing faster than the overall market consistently, and significant margin expansion.
The margins again. What's the target there?
Expanding gross margin above 60%.
Yeah.
That's the really ambitious one.
Breaking 60% non-GAAP gross margin. That's typically a threshold that signals something important, isn't it? Like, you're not just selling components anymore.
It absolutely is. Getting consistently above 60% usually means you're selling highly differentiated products, significant intellectual property, maybe software content, true system-level value, stuff that isn't easily commoditized.
So hitting that would really validate this whole intelligent edge system solution strategy.
Precisely. It's the financial proof point that the strategy is working, that customers are paying a premium for that complexity, integration, and safety.
And alongside these financial ambitions, there's a strong focus on sustainability, ESG goals. It seems baked into their long-term plan, not just an add-on.
Definitely seems integral. Their big long-term goal is achieving carbon neutrality by 2035.
2035, okay.
And they've set clear stepping stones for 2027 to make sure they're on track. Things like cutting carbon emissions by 35%, getting 50% of their electricity from renewable sources, and recycling 60% of their wastewater.
Concrete targets. Are they making progress?
Seems like it. They reported some solid year-over-year numbers for 2024. A 36% drop in PFC emissions. Those are potent greenhouse gases used in manufacturing.
Right, that's significant.
Yeah, and a 31% decrease in their direct Scope 1 emissions, plus a 5 percentage point increase in renewable energy use. So it looks like real operational changes are happening to move towards those 2035 goals. It signals management commitment.
Okay, so let's try and pull all these threads together. If we synthesize what we've covered, Q3 showed this strong sequential bounce back.
Right, fueled by broad demand and that unexpected surge in mobile.
But the core story isn't just the cyclical recovery. It's how they're using that improved cash flow to make these really targeted strategic bets through acquisitions.
PT Tech Auto, Aviva Links, Kinara.
Yeah, pulling together software, networking, and AI processing to create this vertically integrated system capability aimed squarely at automotive and industrial IoT.
That is the absolute key takeaway. You look at the forecast, the whole semiconductor market potentially hitting $1.3 trillion by 2030, with auto and industrial leading that growth. Their strategy is laser-focused on capturing the most valuable slice of that. They're not just riding the wave. They're building the specialized gear, the systems, the software, the specialized chips needed for the highest growth, highest margin applications within that wave, the intelligent edge.
They're betting smart, betting focused,
Yeah,
aiming to significantly outperform the market average.
that's the plan.
So here's something to think about as we wrap up. The source material, especially those acquisitions, shows this huge commitment now to software and very specialized AI hardware, not just general-purpose chips. Given their focus on software-defined vehicles, on complex AI happening right on the device, here's the question for you, the listener, to ponder. How quickly will the total value of an integrated chip plus software system completely overshadow the old way of competing based just on raw processing power?
Interesting question. Where does the value bottleneck shift?
Exactly. And following on from that, think about the talent needed to build and maintain these incredibly complex safety-critical systems. Where's the next major constraint going to appear in this industry? Is it still going to be about building enough silicon? Or is it finding enough skilled engineers who can integrate the hardware and the incredibly complex software reliably? That feels like the big strategic challenge for the next decade.